Johnny Carson once said that quietly, almost like a confession. For 30 years, he welcomed America into their living rooms every night as the king of late-night television. Calm, sharp, in control. But when Carson died in 2005, what he did with his massive fortune stunned even those who thought they knew him best. This is the surprising story of Johnny Carson's final decision and what it revealed about the private man behind the desk, the boy who learned to control the room. Johnny Carson was born in 1925 in Norfolk, Nebraska, during the Great Depression. He was shy, observant, quiet. Instead of dominating rooms, he studied them. He watched how people spoke, when they laughed, and what made them uncomfortable. That skill, observation, would later make him untouchable on television. But one thing changed everything: magic. As a boy, Carson received a magic kit. Performing tricks gave him something he didn't feel in daily life: control. When he performed, people paid attention. They listened. Magic became his safe way to connect without revealing too much of himself. That pattern would follow him for the rest of his life, becoming the king of late night. After serving in the Navy during World War II, Carson slowly built his career in television. His big break came in 1962 when he replaced Jack Paar as host of The Tonight Show. At first, he struggled. He seemed stiff, nervous. But Carson did something different. He adjusted. Night after night, he perfected the monologue, mastered the pause, turned silence into comedy. By the 1970s, Johnny Carson wasn't just a host. He was the most powerful man in entertainment. A good appearance on his show could launch a career overnight. A bad one could stall it. He rarely raised his voice, rarely showed anger on camera. But behind the scenes, he controlled everything. Who came back? Who disappeared? Who got another chance? And that need for control didn't stop at the studio door. A pattern of distance. Johnny Carson was married 4 times. Each marriage followed a similar pattern. As his fame grew, he became more emotionally distant. To viewers, he was warm and charming. To those closest to him, he was guarded, quiet, hard to reach. His second marriage, to Joan Copeland, became especially painful. There were reports of an alleged affair involving NFL star Frank Gifford. Copeland denied it publicly, but Carson believed he had been betrayed. And that belief changed him. Friends noticed he became colder, more suspicious, less forgiving. He hated humiliation. From that point forward, trust became rare in his world. The Joan Rivers fallout. One of the clearest examples of Carson's loyalty and his unforgiving nature came with Joan Rivers. Rivers had been his protege, a frequent guest, a trusted substitute host. Many believed she might even succeed him one day. Then in 1986, she accepted her own late-night show on Fox, without telling Carson first. He was furious, not because of competition, but because she hadn't warned him. Carson cut her off completely. She was banned from The Tonight Show. They never reconciled. For Rivers, it was devastating. For Carson, it was simple. Once trust was broken, it was over. The private struggles. As his marriages failed and trust faded, Carson turned inward. Alcohol became part of his private routine, not during the show, but after. On television, he was flawless. Off camera, he withdrew more and more. He preferred sailing in Malibu, playing tennis, sitting in silence. He was more comfortable performing than being emotionally open. And when he retired in 1992, after 30 years on air, he did something almost unheard of. He disappeared. No constant interviews. No memoir. No nostalgia tours. He walked away completely. The final years. In retirement, Carson lived quietly in Malibu with his 4th wife, Alexis Moss. He avoided Hollywood events, rarely gave interviews, protected his privacy fiercely. Health problems caught up with him. Years of smoking led to emphysema. On January 23, 2005, Johnny Carson died at age 79. There was no public funeral, no grand farewell, just silence, exactly how he wanted it. But the biggest surprise came after his death. The fortune no one expected. Carson's estate was estimated to be worth around $300 million. Most people assumed the majority would go to family and loved ones. But that's not what happened. Years after his death, it was revealed that $156 million had been quietly transferred to the Johnny Carson Foundation, a charity he created to support children's services, education, and healthcare. It was one of the largest private charitable gifts in television history, and he never publicly bragged about it. The rest of his estate went largely to his wife Alexis Moss and his surviving sons. But the biggest statement wasn't personal. It was philanthropic. For a man who spent decades controlling the spotlight, his final act happened completely out of it. What it all meant. Johnny Carson valued control. He valued loyalty. He valued privacy. He could be generous. He could be warm. But he never needed applause for his kindness. In life, he entertained millions. In death, he quietly gave away a fortune, without asking for recognition. Maybe that was his final performance. Not on a stage, not behind a desk, but in silence.